Good evening. I just decided to come outside tonight, just to look at what's in the sky behind me. Okay, I had to call the kids to come and see this beautiful rainbow. I think it's actually the first we've seen this year. Funnily enough, we've had many times that we've had rain with sun. But I am coming today to work on my weeds and plant my fall garden at the same time. In the past few years that I've been here, I've always wanted to have a fall garden. If you don't know me, I am living in a zone 2, which in itself doesn't mean that much, except that we have really cold winters. Doesn't say much about our season, but truth is our season is really short too. It varies. 2 years ago, last year, our last frost date was on May 17th, and the year before that it was June 17th. So it can vary like a lot. This year, honestly, I can't remember. We've been traveling a lot. Look at all these little bulbs, onion bulbs. There we go. And our last frost date is usually around September 15th. So our season is really short. So I've always been kind of not really knowing what to do with this fall garden thing. And I decided that each year I wanted to have one, but I am an eternal procrastinator and forgetful person, so I always forget to start some seeds. And actually one year I did not. I thought about it, but I started like many brassicas, cabbages and broccolis and things that would grow well during, even in the beginning of our winter maybe, but during fall at least. But I brought them in my greenhouse and they've been eaten alive by these little green caterpillars. So that was really disappointing, because for once I've thought about it, but that's how it works. I should have watched them. And this year, like most years, I forgot to start new plants, but I figured that this would not be the end of my world, the end of my will to do a fall garden. So I've been sowing many things in the past few days / weeks, and one thing is that I actually didn't know where to plant this garden, because I need to start it so soon, or what I have in there takes so long that I didn't have the place for it. But turns out I have a few beds that are full of weeds, and I decided to plant my carrots mostly where I did plant my garlic last year. So I removed my garlic, I amended my soil and planted many carrots, and for the first time in I think forever, I seem to have carrots growing. Really happy about it. But I was about to let my garden grow and see how it goes, because I did plant many celeries and brassicas at the beginning of the season. But turns out that most of my brassicas were eaten by something. I have a lot of caterpillars, but I think that's the caterpillars mostly. I didn't see any small green green caterpillars. So I think it's the slugs. I did say caterpillars before, but I meant slugs. I have many slugs. I think that's what actually ate everything. So right now what I'm doing is I am cleaning up this bed and planting my fall garden, because it kind of, honestly, it pisses me off to know that forever I've been gardening, like doing some sort of gardening for the past maybe 15 years. I did garden on my balcony. I was living in Montreal, downtown Montreal, and had a really tiny balcony. And I did buy these Rubbermaid tubs, huge blue tubs. They didn't have any holes in them. And don't ask me how, but I did manage to have some sort of harvest. I remember harvesting tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers, but I did not even harvest them outside. I remember picking peppers from my bedroom, and I don't know how it happened. Honestly, I'm looking back at what I was doing, and this gives me like some sort of a lesson. I mean, if I could do that, I can do anything. It's only been a few years since I've been serious about gardening. I've always enjoyed it, but that I've been trying to find resources and being really serious about it. And yeah, what I was saying is that it really pisses me off, because since that time that I was always thinking that a garden was just during the summer, and that's it. I mean, you had one shot and that's it. And I mean, I would plant everything. This is why sometimes it pisses me off to miss my shot, because I would start my seeds and my seedlings like all at the same time. It was like seed starting day. So I would start my tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, watermelons, carrots, name it all. I would sow it all. I would sow way too much of it, but I would still have some success. Maybe I'm trying too hard, or maybe it's just life. But yeah, so I learned it only a few years ago that you can work with that. I mean, for some reason I thought that like a tomato plant would not grow any other time. I really thought that, and now I know why we do it. Like when we do it, it's because it's really frost tender crop and everything. But I also thought that the more warm it was, the more possibilities you had. Like someone living in the south could just like grow everything way better than I could. But I didn't know that some crops were frost tolerant, that would even taste better or grow better in the frost, in the cooler temperatures. So yeah, it really pisses me off to see that we're not encouraged in any way to grow something other than like the typical plants you find in nurseries, and at the time they are there. And even for us, we can see Jess from Roots and Refuge that talks about the nurseries where she lives that are selling like cabbages that are just going to bolt. But here, I mean, we have like the complete opposite. It's cold, and they sell them like when it's really too cold still. And at this time of the year, I see people like in the US or more southern areas going to nurseries and being able to find some starts. But for us, like it's completely empty. Like the greenhouses are completely closed. You can't even enter there because we're back to selling composts and indoor plants and like garden tools, and that's about it. You cannot buy anything, any starts of any kind, and in anywhere you can't find that. So really like grinds my gear to know that for anyone that is not going to go and get the information, we are giving up so much of our season. And even here, because I could have a decent season and like nobody's there telling you that. Rhea, apporte. Donne. Viens. Apporte-moi les. Viens. On va faire un échange. My dog just found some of my gloves. Freya, viens. Viens. Non, non, apporte. Donne. Va les chercher. Ouais, apporte-les ici. Viens. Ouais, que t'es fine. She brought me my gloves. Tiens, ma pitune. Oh, que t'es fine. She brought my gloves. Oh, I love this dog. So all that to say that in my roux apron, I have all these seeds that I'm going to show you that I'm planting. Are they all gonna work? I guess only time will tell, because it all depends on the temperatures that we will have and when we have them. But I am pretty confident that for most of these I can have something decent. But I have so many weeds in the ground, which I could spend hours digging and finding roots. Is this in French it's called chien dent. In English I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that you can recognize these roots if you've only gardened for a little while. Okay, so let's see what's in there. I did try to plant a few Brussels sprouts and cabbages and things like that, but since they're not started, I'm not sure I'm gonna have time to grow them from seeds. And the difference between those and a few others is that, like root vegetables and maybe kales and things like that, I have many types of kale, and I chose these because even if they grow to be real, not well, all of the ones I'm going to show you are frost hardy first off, which is really important. But all the kales and spinach varieties, or even lettuces and greens like that, they are going to grow, and even if they don't get big, I can always harvest a few leaves. So as soon as they pop, almost as soon as they pop, I'm going to be able to use some of it. So even if I have a frost coming, not only can they survive most of the time, unless it's a really, and I mean really hard frost, like under -10 degrees Celsius, but even then, if they're not covered, I can just come and harvest what's there, versus like a broccoli that if it's there, I mean if it didn't flower, I can't do much. You can use the leaves of the broccolis, like kale leaves, but I mean you don't necessarily grow the broccoli for that purpose. So I did have some tatsoi I did plant, because this is pretty frost hardy too, but I love these I love these kinds of cabbages more than all the other ones, and for some reason I didn't have any, or barely any, during the spring, so I'm going to try back planting these during the fall. I'm not going to show you every single thing because I'm talking mostly about families. I'm planting beets. To be quite honest with you, I've never been a huge beet fan, but I do like them when they're fermented or pickled. I like to buy them. I did pickle a few last year that we didn't finish, but I decided that I'm going to try to finish them first off, but also to try new recipes, because living in a climate like I do, as much as I would like to live off tomatoes and spaghetti sauce and salsas, I mean, I can't, because I had my first fresh tomato like 3 days ago, and we're August 10th or 11th. Today we're August 11th. So it's getting really late, and our first frost can be as early as in 3 weeks. So I cannot rely. Freya! No. Hey! No! So our window to grow tomatoes is really short. Yeah, see? And I really can't rely on that. So I'm really not the biggest fan of root vegetables, except maybe carrots or potatoes. But I'm thinking that I need to get used to it. I need, if what I want is really like sustainability, to produce most of our food, I need to cook these foods more and get used to it. So I have varieties of lettuces. This is a chourave. Is this the kohlrabi? I think it's a kohlrabi in English, but another pretty. All of them are frost hardy. Different cabbages. But to be quite honest, the thing I'm planting the most are carrots. I do have some radishes too. Different kinds of radishes, but yeah, carrots, because I know that we love them in all different ways, and the thing I really like feel the most good about cooking and canning is really spaghetti sauce. And my celery is going well, so if my carrots go well, we can eat them in all kinds of ways. I know that we can eat them. They are frost hardy. They can be picked at almost any time, from when they're really tiny to like when they're huge. They can be stored in the ground for a long time. They can be stored in my fridge or in my house for a long time, and we can eat them raw. We can eat them cooked. I mean, it's almost the perfect vegetable. So I really want to have a ton of carrots, and maybe I'm going overboard this year because I've had success with carrots, but I really want to have many carrots. And I am pretty sure I need to test this out, or you can tell me in the comments, because I know that this is like common knowledge amongst gardeners, but I'm just not sure. But I know that they can pass winter. I just don't know if, because it's really at the farmers market, it's one of the first veggies that we see, because they are last year's veggies. People sow them and they harvest them during spring. So are they like already sown and started to grow and they just waited for winter, or they've sown the seeds and they are just seeds passing the winter, not plants yet, not roots yet? Do you know? Am I clear? What's my questioning here? I'm not sure if they are sown really late or just a little bit late. So they're like tiny carrots that grow big during the winter or during the early spring, or if they're seeds that just start sprouting and grow when winter ends. I think I'm going to right now to try and plant some beans. I have a preference for yellow and purple beans just because they are so much easier to harvest and they are so much easier to see, and these take 50 days. So we are April 11th, so I might be pushing my luck, but not that much. If I plant these right now, I'm going to be able to harvest some if we don't have that, say, a big frost. I remember having a frost during the spring and that my plants survive. So if we have a light frost early September, we're going to be fine. So this bed is really not an old one. I'm going to amend what I've picked here, what I've worked on here, and planting my purple beans. Bonjour, mademoiselle. So what I'm putting right now is really a mix of what is called agromix, which I believe is peat moss and perlite, and this is just bagged compost. I don't have my own compost yet, but soon, my friends, soon. So I don't do this on all of my beds, since some of them I did this like last year and the year before that. I try to put some mulch on my beds, which is supposed to help with the it's supposed to decompose and help like feed the soil. But right now I'm too lazy. So I like to plant my beans really close together. I don't mind and have had good experience with putting plants really close together, and there's not that many of them. So that's it. It's really something so quick to do, much more quick and direct to do than starting seeds, which is really like the best for someone like me. So we're gonna cross our fingers that this will sprout, of course, but let's cross our fingers that it's going to that we're gonna have Mother Nature on our side to have these sprout and produce, so I can have like a last bit of beans before the frost. So I hope you enjoyed this little fall garden sewing thing. Thanks for hanging out with me, and see you next time. Bye.